Thank you, Stas. And so now the recording is started. We missed the introductions, but now the recording is started. Uh, Truls, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi, I'm Truls from Norway, where I live. I've used DDEV for a long time in connection with all kinds of frameworks. Yeah, and I think that's all for me. Thank you.
It's great to see everybody. So yeah, we'll go ahead and get going because we have a bunch to cover today. Um, Most of it is shockingly easy to understand. Uh, but there are some places where there are kind of layers of understanding. What I wanted to do to start is just to show you one of the simplest add-ons that I've seen. So I'm going to switch to the DDEV Typo 3 password project. I can probably make this is that big enough, or are you able to read that? Is that all right? Okay. Um, this is just a brand new add-on that got published the other day, and you'll see that it basically has one central YAML file that gives it a name, and uh, and then it lists one file that it's going to install, just the one file. And then it has a version constraint. So it says that DDEV used with it needs to be greater than or equal to 1.24. So uh, this one says that we're going to install as a project file the typo 3 password command. So if we go in and look at what it's doing, here's the typo 3 password command, which is just an ordinary uh, custom command for DDEV that has been created here to create a typo 3 to set a typo 3 backend user password, which is sometimes a little tricky to do if you don't have a tool like this. So this add-on was created, has an easy test. We'll take a look at tests in a minute, and a simple install.yaml. And this add-on, its whole job is to install this command typo 3 password in in a project. So, and that's the whole thing. So you just looked at the whole add-on. It's got a README. Um, it's got a license. These all come from the template. The install.yaml tells it what to install, and it's installing the typo 3 password custom command, just a bash custom command. So that's about as simple as they get, and it's a demonstration of how simple they can be. So there are a few add-ons that install like um, 5 or 10 or 15 different custom commands, and they're basically the same as this, but they would have more things, for example, in the web folder or somewhere else. Any questions on how that looks or works, or that basic structure that you see there?
About the minimum version requirement, is good practice to use the current version that you're using for DDEV, or 124, the default is all right?
I would put Stas in his script that he'll demonstrate a little later suggests that you use what, 1.24.10 or something, Stas?
Yes.
Uh, it's not it's not that important, but with this one, I'm not even sure it's important to have that in there to begin with. because this one would work with any version of DDEV that supported custom commands, which goes a long, long ways back, or that supported add-ons, I guess, which is, lost in memory. So yeah, I would just if you run Stas's script, which we'll look at a little later, it'll suggest what you use. But if I were making one, I would use the current version, Rodrigo, just because. So, okay, let's see if we can take a look at the we've got I've got some slides here, but they're just to try to keep us on track. So add-ons can extend DDEV with services, which is a great, it's a very easy thing to do. We used to always have people with services, they would have to handcraft a Docker compose.star.yaml or whatever, or they would need to handcraft Docker image add-ons or those kinds of things. But now these are essentially a package that does all those things for you. So you can do like a DDEV add-on get DDEV Redis, and you can do a DDEV add-on list to see them. If you're creating one, the normal path is to use the template that Stas is always taking good care of. Let me open that so I don't lose it. So the add-on template puts together a starter of all the things that you might need to do and has suggestions about what should be done. The README tells you what to do with it, and basically you you go and click use this template and create a new repository. And if I say DDEV demo here, it will because I'm not going to do anything with it. And you see it's set to be public, and I'll just say create repository, and that creates a repository that implements an add-on just like that. Unfortunately, this is probably a little too simple because people are making so many of these that may not have general value, and that's a conversation that we have a little later about how to think about add-ons and how to think about whether they get added to the registry or not. So after we create this brand new thing, it says basically it has a copy of everything that we just did, and we are supposed to are you supposed to do something after this, Stas, or is this where
Yeah,
we're
we just wait a little bit for the first commit. It's automated,
that's right.
so you can refresh right now, and you're going to see some changes.
Yeah, so it did. Yeah, so it made a commit for us. So actually, I'd like to implement that on the template that that's a lot fancier than the template that I'm using for doing that I used for this one, the template that I use for presentations, because mine requires a manual run. But you see, this has already started the README for you and has already explained what to do, and it has some pieces already set up for you. So it has a Docker Compose .demo.yaml that does nothing if you wanted to add an extra service, and it has an install.yaml that has the project files with just that one thing in it. And I guess it's saying 1.24.3 is the default right now, but if I ran your script, it would change that, wouldn't it?
Yeah, we probably didn't update our template, but it's updated in our script.
Yeah. Now we'll see the script a little bit later. So, but the basic here is to get started in a standardized way with an add-on and have it just make the thing up for you right out of the bat. You use the template, it creates a new repository, and that new repository has all the beginnings of the things that you need. Any questions on that or comments or anything like that? Have several of you have already done this, been through this process before? Okay. So the install.yaml structure, you saw that in our trivial one, we didn't have, let's see if I can, in our trivial one, we ended up with, sorry, I'm lost here. We ended up with only the project files. And that is going to install the name dockercompose.demo.yaml in there. But you can do several different things. The name, which in general should, our example that we were looking at typo3 password, it gave the name DDEV typo3 password. We prefer just my add-on or, not including DDEV in the name. It doesn't do any harm if you do. Version constraint, pre-install actions, which is bash or PHP actions that should be taken before the install happens. Project files, which is what we just saw in DDEV typo3 password. So in our project files here, we had just the one project file, which is going to be injected into the project or added onto the project. Global files are typically commands, or it could be other things. Could be you could do router customization or other things, but typically people are adding custom commands here. The DDEV typo3 password installed the custom command into the project, which is a good place for it, but it could have installed it into the DDEV global area. And then post-install actions are bash or PHP actions that can be done after the installation. So I think we'll look at a more sophisticated add-on, the Redis add-on, DDEV Redis, in a minute, and it demonstrates most of these. And then in the removal actions, you can also, when the add-on is being removed, you can do cleanup and that kind of thing. So as it says here, the unused sections can be omitted, and you see that that was done in the DDEV typo3 password. They didn't clutter it with all the possible comments that could have been there and all the possible sections that could have been there, but all of those sections are available to us. So that's the install.yaml structure, and you don't have to have pre-install actions if you don't need them, removal actions if you don't need them, or post-install actions. And most add-ons that I've seen don't need those. Any comments on that, or Stas, do you have any follow-up?
I can say sometimes people don't really know what to choose, project files or global files. And I would say go with project files at first if you are not sure, because when you install global files, they are installed only when you run DDEV add-on get. So if you share some project with your teammates, then if they check out the project on their machine, they are not going to have the global files by default because they didn't run DDEV add-on get. So take that in mind, and maybe you can use DDEV hooks for this, like to run DDEV add-on get for global files, because it's kind of a little bit tricky situation.
I agree with that. I wonder the global files idea is very powerful, but since most people manage their projects by checking in the .ddev folder and the projects are managed as a project and the global like global custom commands aren't managed, um, it's that you kind of wonder if we need to have a feature where we warn about that, or like I don't know how we would warn um, authors that global files has that downside. Thank you for that good point. Any other comments or questions about the install.yaml setup here?
So I have one question. I'm wondering about if it's possible to do any any installs on organization levels. Like I have been trying to use some things that are more easier for everybody to use instead of the projects having several add-ons. Like, is it possible to have like a higher level that can make it more efficient for us in regards to new projects, and that we could do everything right away instead of customizing everything on these different projects? Is that a possibility for us to have more like, or do we have to like go to each project and do everything manually, or could we have more automation?
So I think your question is, can a project automatically have a set of add-ons or be pre-configured with a set of add-ons? Is that reasonable, Truls? Um, I
Yes.
uh, One thing you could do is you could have DDEV hooks that would automatically install add-ons, and of course you can already have it configured in a uh, in a standard project starter config. What would you do there, Stas, for that to have have a starter that has a set of add-ons already built into it?
We probably already have some issue for this, like it's related to global add-ons. Like we were asked about PHP MyAdmin, for example, because it was included by default, but now you have to install it in each project if you want to use it. And we don't really have some streamlined way for this. Maybe we can have something for this in the future, but we need to discuss it before that.
I think that although our support for global configuration and our support for global commands is quite wonderful and useful, it has weaknesses just like this that we don't quite understand. And also, this isn't just about global. Truls' question is about how do you start a project with a built-in set of things, which probably implies a different level of something like we need there are a number of projects out there that are starter projects for DDEV for particular layouts, and so that's not an uncommon thing. But I don't. Yeah, good question, good thoughts, and I think a lot of people have addressed some of that, but it is definitely, it points to an area of weakness in how we do global configuration and how we do overall templating. Of course, you could make a DDEV project that was templated just like this is, and that would be an interesting possibility. Any other comments or questions? Let's move on to the next thing, which is just a statement about the pound DDEV generated. When you see pound DDEV generated in a file, not just these kind of files, but all files, it implies that DDEV manages it. And if you want DDEV not to manage it, meaning replacing it on a reinstall or an upgrade or any of those kind of things, then you would remove that DDEV generated. So this is super important in add-ons because there's an automatic process going on here. So for example, here in the DDEV typo3 password, this file, the typo3 password has got the DDEV generated, and that means that the add-on subsystem is authorized to update it if a get happens, and it's authorized to delete it if a remove happens. And so you want all of your files that you're installing to have that pound DDEV generated. So that's true of lots of things in the DDEV ecosystem, and I'm sure it's not perfect in various ways, but it's a pretty simple idea and it works out okay. So if we look at actions and we want to take some action on on an install or a remove, we can add a set of actions, and they can be bash or they can be PHP. And let me just open up one that would work. I think I assume I have DDEV Redis here. DDEV Redis is a pretty simple example of one that does this. You see, DDEV Redis installs a bunch of commands and a docker compose.redis.yaml, but you'll see that it has post-install actions. I don't know that I've ever used pre-install actions or whether they're useful. But this one has a script that will run Redis optimized if it has been done with Redis optimized equals true, and it removes the scripts if there's no files that are to be done. And if I remember right, oh, I see. This one adds if it's a Drupal project, it adds Drupal settings for it, and it does that with a script. So anyway, that's an example of simple bash setup where there is actually stuff that takes place when you're trying to do it. So we have the bash actions run on the host side. PHP actions run in their own container. So you can do something like this where you have a PHP marker declaring it to be PHP, and you can do a variety of things there. We found that while Bash is simple and straightforward for lots and lots of things. If you try to do any complex logic, Bash is a pretty limited language and hard to debug. And so that's why we added the PHP action types. I'm not aware of a lot of add-ons using it. The DDEV Upsun add-on is very sophisticated and does a lot of this stuff. So if you need to take action, like the DDEV Redis one does, the post-install actions is the normal place to do it. And if it's non-trivial, putting it into a script is a great idea. So, comments on actions from anybody, including Stas, on how that's worked out for you?
If we talk about pre-install actions, then the main idea was to use it to check the DDEV version some time ago, maybe a year or two, but we then added a new DDEV version constraint for this. So, yeah, I agree. Right now, we don't really have any use for pre-install actions, but it also can be used to check stuff like if add-on needs to be installed on a project with that database. If there is no database, we can block the installation. So it can be used for this kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
for post install actions, if there are several lines, you can write it like this, simple write in the install.yaml file. But if it gets really big, you should always use a script for this.
Yeah. So like the DDEV Platform SH is a Bash plugin, and it does pre-install actions to make sure that it supports the right type of like the platform app uses the right stuff, and in the pre-install actions, it gets the CLI token. It collects the CLI token if it hasn't been configured, things like that. This is a really complicated one. In fact, it's so complicated that you can't understand it at all, and that's why it's deprecated in favor of the DDEV Upsun add-on, which is written in PHP. The thing to remember about actions is that usually you'll do post-install actions. If they're complex, usually you will run a script that you have already installed, and you want to be able to test them manually to make sure that they work. And Bash works on the host. Bash actions work on the host, and PHP actions work in a temporary container that is based on the DDEV web server container. You can use both types. So they're Bash unless you mention that they're PHP. So you can use both together. So in post-install actions, you could have 2 or 3 that were some Bash and some PHP. It might bend your brain a little bit, but you can definitely do it. Questions on any of that about actions? Questions, comments, thoughts?
Also, when you write a bash action, you need to make sure you write it compatible for different platforms like macOS and Linux, Windows, because there are some differences in bash implementation, like on macOS. So you need to make it compatible between all of them. But with PHP, you don't need to think about it. But if it's simple, like move some files or check for some file, it doesn't really matter what you use, Bash or PHP.
Yeah, that's a good point. There are some features. What was the one that came up the other day?
It was
There's some
map for some array. I don't remember.
Yeah, Bash on Mac OS is version 3, and most people using sophisticated Bash scripts will use 4 or 5, and it has Bash 5 has more sophisticated arrays and that sort of thing. And if you accidentally use those, and somebody running it on Mac may have trouble. And we have workarounds for that we won't go in today. We have a utilities image, a DDEV utilities image that has standardized Linux versions of things in it. But the key thing is don't use the very sensitive the most sensitive things that are on the Mac that are kind of old or based on older patterns. Um, that you can always ask about those. That typically with normal setup, you don't have that kind of problem.
I also remembered one we use for pre-install actions. We had some add-ons in the past that couldn't run on ARM 64, but only on AMD 64. You can check it in pre-install actions.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. You can also declare dependencies, and dependencies these days are automatically installed at install time. They used to just say, oh, it has to be there and make you install it. But now you can do static dependencies just with this dependencies situation here in the what's the add-on that you use for DDEV Redis DOS? Redis
Redis Insight, or you mean with dependency?
oh, surely I have it. I thought I would have it. Let me go to it. So DDEV Redis Insight is a really nice UI for Redis. And if you look at its install.yaml, it declares a dependency on DDEV Redis because it's not much use without that. So if you install DDEV Redis Insight, it will automatically get the DDEV Redis for you. So if I do, if I go here, this requires DDEV Redis, and so it told us what it was doing there. It said it's installing the missing dependency before it's doing other things, and then it did all the other work that was intended to be here. The runtime dependencies, I think, is too fussy to muck with mostly. But you can actually tell an add-on, you can actually dynamically determine that an add-on has dependencies, and the DDEV Upsun one does that. And I guess DDEV DDEV Redis, DDEV Upsun does that to get Redis, if I'm not mistaken. So dependencies are easy these days. It used to be a little harder, but that's really, really easy. The testing, we won't go fully in there, but there's good docs especially in the DDEV add-on template, about how to test and run tests with bats. Bats is a bash-based testing template, and it works. It's fine. It's simple. It's pretty simple to understand. As you see here, there's a really simple test. It's just written in bash. The problem with bats is it's because the good news is it's written in a familiar language in bash. The bad news is that it's not perfectly easy to understand how to debug or to get information out of it. But there is I think, didn't we do a whole contributor training on bats tests? I think we might have. But that is it's important for these add-ons to have tests. So even this trivial test that we looked at here in the DDEV typo 3 password, it has a test and it runs its automated tests on GitHub. And sure, it's very trivial, but here's the install, and it just does a DDEV add-on get of the directory, a restart, and then it checks to see that the file was installed. And that's a pretty trivial test, but this one doesn't need more than a trivial test, I would imagine. I would probably have wanted to actually run that command instead of just checking for its existence as a file. But doing tests, at least some tests in your add-on, is really important. Oh, and there's a problem with keeping those tests, those automated tests running. Here's the DDEV Redis Insight, and it's set up and it has the tests, and they run every night automatically using the pre-configured setup. Even my add-on that I just created already has the workflows set up for that. But GitHub turns these off after 60 days of no commits. And we used to have a good workaround for that where it would automatically solve that, and GitHub decided that was not something they wanted. They didn't want things that were neglected running tests for forever. And so they made that impossible. So now you get an email, if you created an add-on, you get an email when your workflows are about to be disabled, and you can give them another couple of months. And DDEV will send you an issue if you let yours expire as well. But the tests are critical for the life of something. And you'll see if you go to addons.ddev.com, you'll see here in those 219 add-ons whether these have tests or not. You see, Stas has got this set up with a badge that shows when it was updated and whether the tests are passing or not. So here's DDEV 1 password, and the tests are disabled, probably automatically disabled by GitHub. And so when you're looking at tests, and when you're looking at add-ons for quality, you're probably looking for ones that have passing tests, that at least have tests, and you may want to consider opening an issue for it. But for your own add-ons, it's critical to create tests and then keep them running. And it's not hard. Here's it's not hard to do the batch tests that we need. So you can learn how to do this. For example, so if I go here into the DDEV typo 3 password and I want to test this, I just go bats tests and it will run those. And so when you're working on your own scripts, when you're working on your own add-ons, do improve those a little bit. I could actually improve this one a little bit while that's running. So let's just go ahead. This one should probably have both sections, the install from directory and the install from release. And so we could probably add that on there. But I would probably add here something like this. I'll say run DDEV add on get $dir and assert success. Does that look right, Stas?
Yeah, it's we already have DDEV add-on get your
Oh
couple of
yeah.
lines
Oh no, no, no.
above.
I was actually intending to say, sorry, thank you. Typo 3 password.
And we can check for something like
Yeah.
maybe check the database, or like if the password is check for record or something like this, or updated
Yeah.
at a date, or I don't know.
Now I see why he's the reason that he didn't do a little bit more here is that I could do DDEV typo 3 password dash dash help, couldn't I? And that would be a valid test, even if you didn't have a typo 3 project. Maybe. Yeah, because it's got a project type typo 3. So this is a slight improvement to this. But this test is still running for some reason. And the reason that I don't know, but I would probably make a slight improvement to this, and then I'd run it just as we've run it over here, probably with a little bit more output. And like I say, we did a training on bats and that sort of thing. So we'll try to link to that in the notes on this one. I know we did it. No, we did it. But manually testing is important. This probably should have gone first. First of all, you can do an add-on get with a path, either a relative or an absolute path. So we've got that possibility. You can also do a branch from GitHub. So if somebody's done a PR, or you can do DDEV add-on get owner add-on dash dash version branch name, or simpler still is like this DDEV add-on get owner add-on dash dash PR. And when you're testing your own, you want to make sure that the add-on remove gets rid of what it should have gotten rid of. And that'll catch problems like you forgot to put the ponddev generated in there and things like that. Comments or questions about manual testing or automated testing with bats?
I would say that bats, when I started using bats, it was like until I used bats libraries, it was really hard to understand how everything works because you don't see any output for failed tests. So I would suggest to use the template that we have in our DDEV add-on template. So if you start from using our predefined configuration, you won't have any problems with understanding how it works with debugging.
Yeah, I have trouble remembering the various options that you can use to get more information, like show output of passing tests, where it shows more information. So the add-on template has links to the BATS docs and that kind of thing. But I do have trouble getting enough information about what's breaking when I do a non-trivial thing.
They probably
Oh,
don't even have like live output for this. Even if you pass some flags to the bats, it won't show everything right away, only when everything is done.
it's
I,
not
uh,
great.
I saw some issues about this in bats, but it's still probably not resolved.
The reason that we use Bash, of course, is that we don't want people to have to learn Go. It would probably be, for people that know Go, it'd probably be easier, or even PHP style testing would probably be more familiar to people, but not to everybody. And Bash is pretty familiar. Oh well. Um, let's move on to publishing. When you create a repository, you have published the thing. So um, you you can use all the techniques. Well, for example, my one that I just made, I called it DDEV demo, right? So I can already use that just because I did it right there. So if I go back to my D11, um, it's, oh, I thought that was what it was called. Oh, I
Uh,
haven't made a release. I haven't made a release, and so it doesn't know how to do that.
but you can still pull without release if you pass a flag, a new flag, which we have in recent DDEV.
Yeah, let's do both of those. Um, let's do the way that you said first. Uh, so
Like you,
DDEV add on get dash H should say,
default branch.
yeah. Oh, that only works if it's in the registry.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It won't work because it doesn't have the DDEV get topic.
Yeah. So I'm just going to create a release here, and now there's a release. And so now, just because it's out there and it has a release, I can do it. So I already have that. Um, what did I install anything? Yes, I did. So it created this dummy Docker compose.demo.yaml. So it installed that. And so now I can install it and remove it and do all the things. Um, so anyway, when we put it out on GitHub, it is already available, especially if it has especially if it has the a release in it. If you want it to be officially supported, you would, if you think it's useful to everybody, then you would try to get it promoted to the DDEV org, which is just an issue. But that a lot of things don't need to be in the official org. When they're official, it means that Stas will be paying attention to it, which is a really good thing for an add-on. So, the you do not have to add the DDEV get topic to your repository. That will get it into addons.ddev.com. So here we are. All of these 219 add-ons have the DDEV get topic on them. Let me show you where that topic is. But you don't need to put it there if you don't think it's useful to everybody. So topics are here, and so you would put DDEV get here if you wanted this to show up in the registry. But if you don't, if it's an experiment and you don't intend to maintain it, or if it's only for your team, you don't have to get it into the registry. So there's more than one way to one way to do that. So you don't have to publicize it or add it to the registry, but you certainly can. It's that easy to do it. Of course, we prefer that people take good care of those add-ons. Stas has an update checker here that will automatically check. So let's go look at the one that I did. Oh, I haven't even checked it out. So I can check to see that this meets the current standards that Stas has publicized by just running the update checker. And Stas is complaining at me that I should make the DDEV version constraint higher because it has 124.3 in here, and I should make it 124.10. I can run that again, and it says that all those checks are good. It's better than AI, I tell you, better than AI. So. The official add-ons, Stas is always paying attention and checking them carefully. There are simple ones, there are extensive ones, they're really good patterns. So you can look at those, and don't forget that if you make a change of something that's other than the README or the tests, that you need to publish a release with it. So we have our preferences about repository settings. You might not do exactly these things, but these do seem to help. And here's what we were just talking about curation and discoverability. And I think I'll leave the advanced features, but there's a number of these that are really quite excellent. You can add things to the DDEV describe for your service. You can add a mutagen sync annotation, and you can do inline Dockerfile stuff. Those are relatively new additions, but I know that you all have other meetings to go to, so we'll leave it with we'll stop here for questions, and happy to talk with anybody about anything, including this topic or other topics. But we're always happy to see you in the Discord, and I think you all know where the add-on registry is, addons.ddev.com. So happy to see you. We will put this up on YouTube, and we'll put it up on ddev.com. And Pierre Paul says Stas is much better than AI. I cannot tell you how much better Stas is than AI. So much better than AI. AI will never compete with Stas. So anyway, feel free to any questions about any of these topics. Happy to talk about, and I know that many of you have other meetings to go to. I'm very glad that you came to this one, and we're very happy to see you today. But feel free to hang around and ask any other questions that you might have, or other topics that you might have. Great to see you, Pierre Paul, and great to see everybody here. Um, so, alrighty, I'm going to turn off the recording. Actually, Stas, take a look and see if under the ... under the more, you should be able to stop the recording, I think. Or actually, we just end it and we'll be done with the recording. It's actually on the upper